Gentlemen and friends of Lotus, annyeonghaseyo and welcome. We are delighted to welcome you today to the launch of the new Lotus HyperGT, the Lotus Emeya. Lotus has a 76-year history of producing exciting, innovative and immersive performance cars. But in those 76 years, only a small number of four-door cars have worn the Lotus badge. Today marks another milestone in the expansion of Lotus globally and in Korea. As part of our original Vision 80 strategy, we're very excited to reveal the next car in the Lotus portfolio, and it's another one with four doors. Emeya is a stylish, high-performance electric vehicle with a large range and advanced technology. It's also one of the fastest electric GTs in the world, with acceleration of 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in under 2.8 seconds. It really is phenomenal. In a moment, we're going to take the covers off, and my colleague Ben Payne, who is Vice President of Lotus Design, will talk you around the car so you can really understand why it is so special. But before then, I'd like to take a brief moment to recognise some of Lotus's achievements in the last year. So in the last 12 months, we have broken our annual sales record for any year in our 76-year history. And we're set to beat it again this year. We listed as a public company on NASDAQ on Wall Street in New York. Under the direction of Ben and Lotus Design, we presented the Lotus Theory 1 concept to the world, which really is a true expression of our design and technology principles. In network development, and specifically in our region, we've entered new markets, including Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and India. And we're expecting to announce another 3 markets in the coming few months. We've rolled out our new Lotus corporate identity across a large part of our network. This fantastic Gangnam showroom was the first in the Asia-Pacific, Middle East region to take on this new corporate identity almost a year ago to the day. Since then, we've opened new facilities with new corporate identity in Bangkok, Auckland, Melbourne, Hong Kong, Manila, New Delhi, and 2 in Kuala Lumpur. This month alone, we're opening new stores in Riyadh, Doha, and Cairo. And we've got many more projects at live stage, which means in design or in construction. So, in summary, it's been a very busy year. It's a year that has seen Lotus expand, strengthen, and develop, and there's only more to come. So that is it from me. It's time to show you what you've come here to see, the Lotus Emeya. 감사합니다. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to give you a bit more of an in-depth description of the wonderful new Lotus Emeya. And the start point for that will be to actually talk about the creative process. So Lotus, as John said, is a 76-year-old company this year, and we have a long-standing history of producing super emotional, high-performance vehicles, actually sports cars. And with a sports car, even in today's era of modern technology and digitalization, it's still very important that we start that creative process with a simple gesture coming from the creative human mind. So even today, the whole process of creation of sports cars starts from pen on paper, physical sketching, as we develop and put all of the emotion into our products. Emeya is no different in that process. We begin by trying to lay down the fundamentals of the vehicle, really thinking about how we capture the emotion, the legacy of 76 years of history of a high-performance brand. The other thing that we're really trying to capture with this car is a progression of the principles which we developed in the Emeya hypercar. The Emeya hypercar spearheaded a brand new design direction for Lotus, as it was our first ever fully electric vehicle. That hypercar is a culmination of all of our experience and 76 years of history in producing high-performance sports cars. And really, the aesthetic of that car is very much underpinned by mid-engine legacy that we have. So the key point with any high-performance vehicle, or indeed a sports car, is the stance and the proportions. From a design point of view, how we get the car to sit on its wheels is a really, really dynamic expression of the vehicle's character. The actual stance and proportions of a Lotus have developed an awful lot in our 76-year history. So on the screens around me, you'll see many of our legacy models, and you can see there was a big shift at a certain point in time. Pioneered in the exports in Formula One, there was a decision to move the engine from the front of the vehicle and position it behind the driver. This led, in our performance road cars, to the mid-engine aesthetic that Lotus has been known for the last 30 or 40 years. As we now progress into lifestyle products, like the Electra on the screens behind me, or indeed the Emeya right here, we're really trying to harness that proportional DNA in the new electric era. So for the Emeya, we have a stance and a proportion which is really informed by that mid-engine heritage. To break that down a little bit for you and explain it in detail, there are some core principles to how we stack up the design. On all of our cars since the onset of Emeya, you'll find that we have an extremely sharp nose section at the front of the vehicle. This helps to physically divide the air up and over the car or down underneath. And then from that sharp section is one line that runs all the way through the body, dividing the mass and setting up the dynamic start of the car. That singular line is actually a reference point from the Series 1 Esprit back in the 70s, a car which was defined by that single wedge-shaped line that ran through the car. The next thing we do is to actually have an extended wheelbase and very short overhangs on the car. So the wheels are pushed out to the corners. This gives you a very dynamic aesthetic to the car, but also physically to drive, it makes it very stable on the road and easy to position. This is real sports car DNA. The next thing you'll notice about the car, for a car in this category, is that the cowl point, or the touchdown, the windscreen, is extremely far forward. It's almost sitting over the centre of the front wheel, and that again is a very strong reference point to that mid-engine DNA of Lotus. That cab forward stance was originally informed by moving the engine behind the drivers, but now with an electric drivetrain like in the Emeya, we obviously don't have a large V8 or V12 under the hood, and this is a subtle way that we signify this is a new generation of drivetrain technology. The final part of the proportion and stance of the vehicle is actually these very proud fenders, muscles that we have sitting over the wheels to enhance the power of the car. One of the first Lotuses, and indeed one of my favourites that spearheaded that, is the Lotus 11 from back in our history. One of the first cars where we fed in the wheels to the body of this very emotional sculpture. The second core part of our DNA is actually how we express aerodynamics as a key part of the Lotus brand. So along with that stance and proportion, many of the sculptural features of this car are actually defined by aerodynamic function. As spearheaded with the Emeya hypercar, we're continuing with the theory of porosity. This is an idea whereby we allow the air to pass through the vehicle itself rather than just be moved around it in a very passive way. So you'll notice if you look at this car in detail, there are a series of ducts, holes and vents that allow the air to pass through the vehicle. So starting from the front here, we have a number of holes, and this dramatic air curtain allows the air to pass through the front of the car and exit out into the wheelhouse. So again, this is real sports car DNA and aerodynamic principles that we formed and learned through our exports in Formula One, applied now to E-segment GTs. Moving around to the rear of the car will rotate. You can see there's this laser line of light at the back of the car, and underneath that, some very large exit ducts that draw air out of the wheelhouses and allow us to reduce drag at the rear of the vehicle. The rear of this car has a really dynamic and dramatic stance to it, with this large looping shape in the rear and these exit ducts positioned here underneath the tail lamp. Again, this is a strong reference point to the Evija, and a very unusual feature for an E-segment car. Again, real hypercar design principles applied to now E-segment luxury vehicles for the new market. Above that laser line of light, we have here integrated into the body seamlessly a dual-layer active rear wing. This device actually generates large amounts of downforce at the rear of the car to really push the car onto the road and give a strong sense of stability, and again, inspire confidence in the driver at high speed. Another unusual feature on this vehicle you can see on the screens around me is that we actually have active flaps down here in the diffuser. So we have another active device on the car, guided by the intelligent systems that we have in our vehicles today, which allows us to balance the values of drag and downforce. So the car can have a real duality. In the high performance mode, it's pushed onto the ground, and when you're wanting to drive and get more range out of the battery pack, we can actually accentuate the drag capabilities of the car and produce a very low CD. There are a lot of other active systems on the car, so we use all the intelligence that the vehicle has today to really balance the duality of performance and high range values. In the front of the vehicle, we once again have this very amazing active grille shutter feature, a network of triangles hidden in the lower mouth, which open up when the car needs to cool, the drivetrain and the battery pack. If indeed the car is trying to reduce drag, that network of triangles will close off, as you see on the car right now, and then all of the air is pushed out to the side, again through a network of ducts and air vents off to the side of the vehicle. So again, vehicle intelligence here will allow us to balance the performance state and optimize the driving capability of the car. That level of intelligence and technology continues right the way through this vehicle, and indeed, this car is embedded with the latest generations of technology to enhance the user experience and give a great sense of safety. We have a composite system of LiDAR, cameras, and shortwave radar on this vehicle that give 4 times 360-degree perception coverage. It has all of the latest safety benefits and advanced driving aids. Very uniquely again, Lotus has applied a deployable LiDAR system on this car. We have one pop-up device here in the front header, which is completely unique in the marketplace, and indeed, in the front fenders behind the wheels here, we have these tiny hatches which withdraw into the body and additional LiDAR can deploy from the car. There's a couple of reasons why we do this. As designers, we want to have a very smooth, seamless aesthetic to the car and leave the surfacing clean and uninterrupted. And then additionally, this has a benefit for aerodynamics and NVH because the LiDAR is only deployed when those advanced driving functions are needed. If they're not needed, they stay retracted in the body to give this very clean, harmonious look. Another way to express technology is through the ultra-precise lighting we have at the front of the car. So once again, a new expression of our DNA. We have this dual upturned wingtip graphic. This L shape is actually inspired by the upturned wingtip shape you see on modern-day jet aircraft. So there's an aerodynamic reference point there. All of our latest generation of products have a different expression of that wingtip graphic, even coming back to the Evija, which was the first car to do it. The rear of the car, very simple laser line of light again. This is not just providing legal functions to allow us to have the car homologated, it's also part of the intelligence systems. So that light bar in the rear of the car, through its RGB capability, is able to tell you how much charge is left in the vehicle, or indeed when it's charging, how much energy is being transmitted into the battery pack. The interior of this vehicle also presents a real step on for Lotus cars. We have in this car a new expression of our completely homologated and fantastic driver's cockpit. All of the surfacing in-car car is wrapped around the driver and passengers and is a next generation of luxury from the Lotus brand. The interior space itself has a new expression of some ideas that we began with the Electra SUV. The top of the IP has very thin, precise wing sections that float above the steering wheel. These are an expression of the precision that we can deliver in our interiors today and the utter craftsmanship that you would expect in a high-end luxury vehicle. Beneath those wingtips, we have a line of technology that runs around the IP from coast to coast and incorporates the audio system, all of the digital screens that we need to communicate all the information of the car to the driver and passengers, and indeed a large OLED touchscreen CSD in the centre. This is a really core part of the Lotus new DNA as we move forward, and how we combine craftsmanship, materiality and technology to give an amazing experience for the customer. The luxurious surfaces that wrap around driver and passenger really make this car feel like a sports car, and again, the precision and craftsmanship and the tactility of the materials is a really key thing in our expression of performance luxury. We once again have a strong collaboration with KEF, a high-end audio manufacturer from the UK, who's very much an engineering firm, and their business is a real synergy with Lotus core values. I would encourage you guys to all have an experience of the high-end KEF audio system, because it's award-winning in this sector and is really an immersive experience that you will not find anywhere else. The console in the car is a great expression of what we're doing with the new Lotus interior direction. It's a very strong use of carbon fibre throughout this car, both for its lightweight properties, but also for that sense of performance luxury. And every other material that you can touch in the car has an honesty and a tactility to it. The switchgear is real metal, formed in a unique process to Lotus, and even the gloss black switchgear is in fact made from glass. So we have real high-end luxury materials, a tactility and a craftsmanship which is beyond expectation. The seats in the car are another expression of really how Lotus is pushing things to the next step. These seats in the car are very sporty, lightweight and slim aesthetic, but they're packed with all of the features you would expect in a luxury E-segment vehicle. So it's really a great expression of how Lotus pushes things to a new step. Materiality, again, very well expressed with the seats on screen around. You can see the lightweight, high-performance carbon back shell, but in this particular vehicle, we have another innovative material on show. The material on the seat backs here is actually a brand new innovation from Lotus, a highly sustainable material we made with one of our technical partners, which actually uses post-consumer waste from the fashion industry. Fibres are reclaimed, woven into a unique yarn, and then we can dress areas like the seat back and other parts of the interior to give this extremely tailored, highly luxurious and very British expression of modernism. In terms of our legacy DNA, there are a lot of ideas in this car that are very much informed by our pioneering exports in motorsport. For example, a lot of the aerodynamic principles were first founded in pioneering cars like the Type 79 on the screen around me, and that legacy in Formula One is really something very unique as we push forward into E-segment luxury vehicles. Other examples would be the idea of active suspension systems. They are a huge part of how we make cars like the Emeyaga feel so engaging and immersive to drive, and how we make sure we instill confidence in the driver. The idea of active suspension is actually something that Lotus pioneered in Formula One back in 1987 with the Type 92. Lotus was the first car to race in Formula One with fully active suspension systems. So again, an idea pioneered in Formula One, which we now have in our vehicles for everyone to drive and enjoy on the road every day. Another key point of this car are the active systems, like the rear wing. And again, Lotus was a pioneer in this. Colin Chapman in the 1960s came out with the Type 49, a car that had active wings on it that were actually operated as mechanical systems by the driver sitting in the cockpit. Today, those active systems are amplified in their effect by all the digital capability and the intelligence that we have in this vehicle. And then just coming back to that unique LiDAR system, it's a nice little design story, but we very much as designers see the lights on the car as the eyes of the face, if you like. But today, really, LiDAR systems have the ability to be the eyes of the vehicle. They let the vehicle see everything around it. So that reference point for the pop-up LiDAR is in fact the pop-up headlamps, which are on many of our exotic cars in the 60s and 70s, and indeed the iconic Esprit. So that's the Lotus Emeyaga, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful piece of emotional design, and actually as a last-minute piece of news, I can announce today that this car has a start price in the market here of 148 million KRW. Thank you very much.